The rain had been falling over downtown Boston since sunrise, washing the glass towers in silver streaks and leaving the sidewalks crowded with umbrellas and hurried footsteps. Inside one of the city's most prestigious financial institutions, everything looked exactly as it always did: polished marble floors, gleaming brass railings, expensive artwork hanging on cream-colored walls, and customers dressed in tailored suits discussing investments worth millions. To the employees of Sterling National Bank, appearances meant everything. A designer watch suggested success. An Italian suit inspired respect. A luxury car parked outside often determined how warmly someone was greeted before they even spoke. No one realized that before noon, those assumptions would shatter. The revolving doors slowly turned. A man stepped inside carrying the hand of a little girl. He looked completely out of place. His faded denim jacket showed signs of years of careful use. His jeans were clean but worn at the knees. Mud clung to his work boots from an early morning construction job. His dark brown hair needed a haircut, and exhaustion rested beneath his eyes, the kind that only came from years of raising a child alone while working every hour possible. His name was Ethan Brooks. 36 years old. A single father. A man who had learned long ago that life rarely gave second chances. Beside him skipped his 7-year-old daughter, Sophie. She wore a bright yellow raincoat and hugged a stuffed rabbit that had clearly been repaired more than once. Despite their modest appearance, her smile was warm enough to brighten the gloomy morning. She looked up at her father. "Daddy, are we really going to the fancy bank today?" Ethan smiled softly. "We are. Will they help us?" "I hope so." She squeezed his hand. "I prayed this morning." His eyes watered for a moment. "So did I." As they approached the reception desk, conversations around the lobby slowed. Several customers glanced toward them. A security guard quietly watched from across the room. The receptionist forced a polite smile. "Good morning. How may I help you?" "I'd like to speak with someone about depositing a check." "Certainly." She reached for a clipboard before casually asking, "What amount?" Ethan opened the weathered envelope he had carried carefully beneath his jacket. He looked down at the check for just a second before answering. $5 million. The receptionist blinked. "I'm sorry. I said 5 million. She stared at his clothes. Then at his boots. Then at the child beside him. Her professional smile disappeared. "I believe there may be some mistake." "There isn't." She forced a nervous laugh. "Our branch manager can assist you." A few nearby customers quietly chuckled. One elderly businessman whispered to his wife, "This should be interesting." Upstairs, behind a wall of glass offices, branch manager Victoria Reynolds reviewed quarterly reports while sipping imported coffee. At 43, Victoria had built a reputation for discipline and efficiency. She believed first impressions revealed everything worth knowing about a person. Success looked successful. Failure looked poor. In her experience, appearances rarely lied. Her assistant knocked gently. "There's a customer asking to deposit a $5 million check." Victoria didn't even look up. "Private banking?" "No." The assistant hesitated. "He appears to be a construction worker." Victoria finally raised an eyebrow. "A what?" "He insists the check is real." Victoria sighed impatiently. "Send him in." Moments later, Ethan entered her office with Sophie quietly holding his hand. Victoria noticed everything within seconds. Cheap clothing. Work boots. No expensive watch. No wedding ring. No briefcase. Certainly no signs of wealth. She offered only the slightest smile. "Please have a seat." Ethan sat carefully. Sophie climbed onto the chair beside him, hugging her rabbit. Victoria folded her hands. What can I do for you today? Without saying a word, Ethan placed the check gently on her polished mahogany desk. Victoria picked it up. Her expression changed ever so slightly. The amount was real. $5 million. Payable to Ethan Brooks. Drawn from Ashford Global Holdings, one of the country's largest private investment companies. She examined the signature. Something felt unusual. Still. She looked back at Ethan. Where exactly did you get this? It was issued to me yesterday. For what purpose? It belongs to me. Victoria leaned back. I'm afraid that isn't a sufficient explanation. It doesn't need to be. She narrowed her eyes. This institution takes financial fraud very seriously. I'm aware. Checks of this size aren't simply handed to construction workers. Sophie frowned. My daddy doesn't tell lies. Victoria ignored her. She continued studying Ethan. I'll need proof of where this came from. I have identification. That isn't what I asked. I also have documentation. She barely glanced at it. Instead, she slid the check back across the desk with 2 fingers. I don't believe this check is legitimate. The room became silent. Ethan looked down at the check. Then back at Victoria. His voice remained calm. Would you verify it, please? Victoria folded her arms. I don't think that's necessary. It is. No. She picked up the check once more. Then, with a dismissive smile that made Sophie grip her father's arm tighter, she slowly tore the $5 million check straight down the middle. Rip. The sound echoed through the office. Then she tore it again. Small pieces drifted onto her desk. Sophie gasped. Daddy. Ethan stared silently at the shredded paper. Not with anger. Not with panic. Only disappointment. Outside Victoria's office, several employees had witnessed everything through the glass walls. Some smiled. Others looked uncomfortable. Victoria calmly brushed the torn pieces into her trash bin. I believe our meeting is over. Ethan stood without raising his voice. He placed one protective hand on Sophie's shoulder. I hope, he said quietly, you're absolutely certain about what you've just done. Victoria smiled confidently. I am. At that exact moment, her office phone rang. She answered without concern. This is Victoria Reynolds. The confident smile slowly disappeared from her face. The color drained from her cheeks. Her eyes widened. She slowly stood. Why yes, sir. She looked toward Ethan. Then back at the phone. No. I had no idea. The voice on the other end spoke again. Victoria swallowed hard. Her hand began trembling. Across the office, every employee watched in confusion as the powerful bank manager suddenly lowered her head. The caller spoke just one sentence that changed everything. You just tore up Mr. Brooks' check, and for your information, everyone in this company answers to him.